All right, over the past several years, we have brought you stories about your children being indoctrinated in their classrooms by far-left professors. Now a new book is setting forth a plan to combat the liberal hijacking of our higher education. David Horowitz, author of the new book, Reforming Our Universities, the Campaign for an Academic Bill of Rights, is offering students the tools to fight for their rights in the classroom when faced with these circumstances. And David now joins us back again. Good to see you.
Hey, Sean. Thank you.
Well, first of all, one of the best days of my life is the day you were debating Ward Churchill. I mean, you're out of your mind. You go around these campuses, you're debating these liberal students, liberal professors, but it's had an impact.
Yes. Well, after the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and the border situation, our schools are the front line of our defense of this civilization, and we have lost them. This book that I've just written, Reforming Our Universities, is a history of a 7-year campaign I've conducted to try to stop the indoctrination in our schools.
Yeah, well, you started this back in September 2003.
That's right. And I was able to, I have changed the rules at 15 major universities that have given students the right not to be indoctrinated for the first time in the history of this country. And I did it with 3 people. Of course, I had students out there supporting me, but I'm just, talking about my staff. If I had the Republican Party and the conservative movement behind me, or behind this plan, this is really a blueprint, this book, we could change our schools. And I'm very encouraged because I think we're at an historic turning in the conservative movement. A couple of years ago, if 3 conservatives were walking together, they'd look at each other and say, well, are we becoming collectivists, But now there's 500,000 conservatives descend on Washington. That's a big change.
I want to give you credit, though, because you've been pushing this academic Bill of Rights. I mean, these kids are they're just sitting there. They're victims of indoctrination. They don't even know it. But you wrote a book about called The Professors, and we featured many of them in order. We did a 5-day segment. One day, one of them was a guy well known to this president.
Yes.
Bill Ayers.
Bill Ayers, exactly.
What year was that book published?
We did that probably in 2006. Yeah, if I hadn't had the support from you and of course talk radio, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. That is true. But we need the adults here. Conservatives have enormous leverage over universities. They sit on boards of trustees. They sit on appropriations committees. And since what we're trying to enforce is basically liberal ideas that are 100 years old, 2 sides if there's a controversial issue. Professors should not be imposing their views on the students. Yeah. Not that difficult.
Because they have a captive audience. And I remember I went to school at New York University. First day in the class, political science. I was at a double major at the time, economics, political science. First thing the professor says is, I am a card-carrying communist. And it was interesting because I sat silent for the first half of the class, got an A- on the midterm. It was a midterm final class. Ended up getting a C+, I think, for the course, which was the lowest grade I ever got in college, because I started to combat his ideas, and I started to,
I know so many students, and
I got
that's
punished.
One reason I go out to those campuses, who tell me the same story. I mean, they have to basically lie about what they believe in order to get a decent grade. That is such a disgrace in this country.
Isn't the real antidote, though, like the Ward Churchill case, where if we can get these guys on tape, indoctrinating these kids and pushing their radical agenda and then bringing it to the airwaves.
Yeah,
isn't that the answer?
That's one of the answers. I mean, I was at the University of Massachusetts. I sat in a course taught by a liberal, not a Billy Ayers at all. And it was about the Warren Supreme Court that really is at the heart of a lot of the divisions in this country today. He completely concealed the conservative side of the argument. He assigns only one book, Jeffrey Toobin, who's on that other cable channel as a leftist. These kids didn't even know they're being indoctrinated. They don't even hear the conservative side of the argument. So these professors, on the one hand, they're recruiting for radical parties, terrorist-supporting parties, no question. But there's a lot of professors out there that are just recruiting for the Democratic Party.
How is it possible? And you've shown a lot of courage because you've gone on hundreds of these college campuses and universities.
I got a bodyguard.
All right, you got a bodyguard, but you're still getting booed.
It's a horrifying thing to say in America, isn't it?
Right, but you go on a college campus, you give a speech, and you need a bodyguard.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I think that's pretty sad. But how does a guy like Bill Ayers, guy that's not unrepentant about bombing the Pentagon and being a part of a group bombing the Pentagon, the Capitol, New York City Police headquarters, how does he get that job? How does Ward Churchill?
Because the university administrators and it's mainly the faculty hire themselves, so they're very, very radical. The American Association of University Professors is a Marxist organization at this point in time. Its leaders are supporters of Samuel Arian and the jihadists. It's a very sad situation. I mean, they fired the faculty at Harvard. Fired Larry Summers because he wasn't left enough when he was president.
It's pretty sick. David, great follow-up, and it's a great story of your journey and also how to combat this. And I got to tell you, if we want to, either the next generation of leftists, we're going to not address the problem. If we want to save our kids from indoctrination, this is the antidote.
We need the adults to join in.
Yeah. All right, David, good to see you.